Okay, so this is the video to show my bullet journaling with my DIYFish inserts that somebody wanted to see, a couple people wanted to see. This is my new Midori that I got. I'm probably going to do a separate video on the whole setup of it, because I currently actually have a couple. This is like my everyday and planning Midori that I keep in my purse, and then I have a separate Midori for like health and fitness planning, and then one for like art and journaling, and then Filofax for planning the move that I'm going to be moving in with my boyfriend in October. So I have a separate planner for that. So I'll show you what's in here. I'll just show you my bullet journaling part. I used to use the like the Midori graph paper book. This is just a graph book. But I missed my DIYFish inserts because I'm not very good when it comes to writing like events, like using, so I don't have my key in here because it's actually, so I didn't want to waste the graph paper book, the Midori refill that had just the graph paper. I started using it for bullet journaling, and it worked for me. But then I found a way to print my DIYFish inserts the day on 2 pages, and also print the, weekly, monthly pages and the charts and everything. So I gave that up so I could use this because I missed my DIYFish inserts. And I didn't want to waste that book because I was only about 5 pages in. So I use that graph paper book for my work Midori. So I just keep like a running list of tasks. I use it the same way as you would a bullet journal, but I use it for work. And I also have I printed another copy of my Midori Traveler's notebook, DIYFish inserts, just to keep like a monthly, weekly calendar in my work Midori. So in here, I use the combination of, I'll just take this off. I use the combination of bullet journaling with my DIYFish inserts, which I'll show you in a second. So with these, let's see if I can get a closer look. There's probably a bunch of personal information in here too, which, whatever. So with these, I'll just show you on a blank page. I do my bullet journaling over here, so I keep like, the task boxes and the bullet points for, ideas or things I want to look up, or, and I'll use a key, like I use a star for if it's important, I can't forget it. I'll use the I signifier, if it's something I want to research or look up or look more into, or, whatever. I don't use much more than that. I'll put a check mark in the box if it's completed, and then I'll put an arrow if it's migrated. Other than that, I don't like mark when tasks are, in progress or anything like that, because I don't need to know that. If a task is in progress, I'm usually working on it. So I don't want to I don't feel the need to let myself know that I'm working on something, because I shouldn't be looking at my planner if I'm working on it. So the other thing with events, you're not really, I think there's one in here, one circle, because the event symbol is the circle, the open circle. I don't use that because to me, it's kind of pointless. I mean, it wouldn't be pointless if I wasn't using this. Like if I was just using the regular graph paper, it would serve a purpose because I would know that that's an event. But even then, I would still be using a calendar in conjunction with that. So any events or appointments, I'm going to put on my calendar. I'm not going to write it over here. This is mostly for to-dos and ideas that pop into my head. So that's how I bullet journal. I don't, I kind of tweaked the system to work for me, which is, what any of us should do. So this is how I set up my bullet journal, and I'll show you on a blank page, and then I'll show you how I do it. So here, you know, I don't usually write anything on Saturday or Sundays unless there's stuff I just don't want to forget. So here I usually have like my inspirational quote, which you'll see I have the little stickers on this page. I mark my water here. This section is for expenses, and what I'll do is I'll put what the expense is and how much it is, and then I'll check it off when it's paid over here. Just to remind me that I have to pay something that day. I have like my weekly, monthly planner back here that has all of my bills and their due dates and everything like that. So I have, you know, all of those dates in here, but this is just to remind me on a daily basis if there's anything I need to pay. So I'll just transfer from that to here. So instead of the events, the open circle for events, I just put my events or appointments right here because that's what that part's for. That's what that part's for me, you know, if somebody uses it in a different way. So this is what it looks like. I colored my water glasses. These are my expenses, you know, events or things I have to remember at a certain time in the day because there's little, you know, time numbers right here. And then I have like my tasks over here and my bullet points for ideas. Now, I'm not the best at remembering to migrate things. And I watched a video and I can't remember whose video it is. And I'm sorry if you're watching this and you know that it's your video. I saw a video on someone who had a very good idea of don't draw the little migrate arrow until you've actually written it down in the next day. Now, with a regular bullet journal, you would have, like, for instance, you would have 2 graph pieces of paper as a spread right here. And, you know, you would do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or however, you know, you could probably get a week or 2 out of a spread. When I was doing that in the regular graph book, I found that I wasn't migrating things because I could still see it. You know, like if Friday was over here and Monday was over here, I could still see Monday. So I would know if I didn't do anything instead of migrating it to Friday or whatever. That gets kind of annoying for me because, you know, I go back and I see some of these I flip back through my pages in my graph book and I see some of these pages that have empty, like, task boxes that aren't checked off. And I'm like, if I would have never thought to flip back through my pages, I would have never seen that. And even though it's up here and I can see it, if I don't have it, like, usually, like, when a day passes, I'll just kind of write that day off, you know? So if I'm on Friday, I need to see it on Friday to know that I need to do it. And it's just not something that, you know, I'm also really bad at crossing things off if they're irrelevant, which I don't really have too many things that are irrelevant, so I don't usually use that symbol. I'm also sorry if I'm rambling. I'm kind of, you know, just winging this and trying to remember things to tell you how I bullet journal. So I started migrating things like this. I would start my boxes about 4 graph squares over, so I would be able to draw an arrow and then put the date of when I migrated it to. I didn't really need that because usually I would migrate it to the next day. And if I didn't, it wasn't important enough for me to see, you know, like if I migrated it 3 days from now, I would write it on that 3 days from now page. And obviously it wasn't important enough for me to do that day. So, you know, I'll see it 3 days from now. So I don't really need to know when it was migrated. So I stopped doing that. So like the migration tasks kind of look like, where is one? Let's see if I can find it now. So I put a arrow in the box now. So it kind of cleans it up here. And I started doing them, you know, only 3 squares in instead. Yes, I'm that anal about my planner. So that's how I do my bullet journaling in my fish inserts. You know, I use my task boxes, my appointments over here. I still do my, you know, bullet points for things that I want to look up, you know, or remember. Okay, and if I have like an errand, like I had to go to Walgreens here. I put the things I need to buy there in bullet points underneath the task. And then I just check off the task when it's done. Usually I'll write this on a sticky note, you know, what I need to get, so I can just pull the sticky note out and, you know, take it with me. You know, I just keep sticky notes in the envelope in the front. And I mark the current day with a paper clip, my little unicorn paper clip. So if I have a shopping list or something, I keep it on one of these pages, one of these little sticky list pages. So here in my monthly, weekly booklet is where I keep, you know, all my bills and my future planning, so that when I remove this booklet, I know what to write in July. I don't usually do too much future planning, but when I do, I can just keep it here. That way I know what to fill in when I replace the booklets out of here. For all of those, you know, ideas that I wrote down that I wanted to, you know, look up, like the eyes, I keep a tab at the top for the important information that I wanted to look up or do some more research into. And I keep that on this spread. This is in the monthly, weekly. It's just the extra pages in the back if you see my other video. I also have a brain dump, which is sometimes things come in my head and, you know, I don't really know where I want to put them, if I want to put them in a list or if I want to put them, you know, in a task box here. And I write pretty large. So where's here it is. I had a lot to do this day. And if I just wrote everything down that I was thinking that day, this thing would have been 3 pages. So I have this brain dump section back here of things that like come into my mind that I don't necessarily need to remember that day, or that aren't like necessarily a to-do. And it's not really an idea that I want to look up. It's just something I want to remember for, I don't know, a month from now, a week from now, a day from now. And I'll just put it in there and then I'll organize it later. That way I'm not, this doesn't get used too much. Usually it ends up as a bullet point on one of these pages. So where do I keep my collections? The collections, you know, how you, on a regular bullet journal, you would just use the next blank page and start a list of something and it would be a collection. And then you would put it on the index in the front. So I use a separate Midori refill. It's just a lined notebook. Probably when I finish this one, I'll use a graph one because I like the graph notebooks for checklists. So I have my index here, and then I just keep all my collections in this book in the back. That way I know where they are. I still have my index. You know, there's books I want to read, wish lists, packing lists, things like that. So I keep all that back there. That's about it. You know, this works for me. I'm still tweaking a little bit with the monthly, weekly charts and everything. I tend to write things, I tend to write the same information down a lot in a bunch of different places because I'm pretty forgetful. So if I don't write it over and over again and kind of overkill it, then I'll forget. So that's what works for me. You know, hopefully you got some things out of here that, you know, you can take with you and it'll work for you. I watch a lot of videos and I read a lot of blogs and I see a lot of pictures and I find a lot of things on Pinterest and Facebook and just make it work for me. And I think that's the best part about setting up your own planner, is making it work for you. So hopefully this helped. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.